Well, welcome back to reality, folks. That was a little bit of an indulgence that was put out for me. I have to say, I didn't know that was going to happen, but there we are. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of that. Okay, we're starting racing, and here's our opening heat in MicroMax. Danny van Routen of Netherlands on pole position, joined on the front row by Leon Zelenko. On row 2, Adrian Malheiro from Portugal and Théophile Nail of France. Ryota Harachi of Japan, Kino Al-Azari from the United Arab Emirates, row 3. Jonathan Madden of Poland on row 4 with Jack Jeffers. And the top 10 completed by Brent Cruz and Louis Iglesias on row 5.
Well, Alexander Bondarev, start of row 6, the youngest driver here in the paddock, just 8 years old, the only 8-year-old. And they're coming around turn 14 now, all 36 drivers in 18, hopefully tidy rows. They will come under the watchful guise of Ramiro Brito, the race director. And for a 6-lap heat race, the lights are out, and for the first time in the Grand Finals 2017, we are off and racing through turn number 1, down the long straight towards turn 2 and 3. 36 identical MicroMax karts lead them down the hill now by our pole sitter Danny van Routen. Leon Zelenko in second position. There was one driver at the back there that I noticed that didn't get away very cleanly, but they're at the very bottom end of the circuit now. That is turn 5, and now they climb up through turn number 6 into turn number 7. And through turn 7 with the Dutch driver Van Routen leading, defending the inside, a change for second place, and that looked like Adrian Malheiro making a move for P2.
It did indeed.
Everyone else round cleanly, but it's good battling already, Ken.
Well, one thing that see it now, one thing I'm not over happy about, Danny van Routen must have looked over his shoulder a dozen times, and we haven't completed the opening lap yet. I know that these can't, there it is again, a glance over his left shoulder. But just pulling away a little bit, Adrian Malheiro having gone past Leon Zelenko as we think we read it, and Zelenko putting on the pressure, completing the opening lap of 6. Let's just make sure we are reading this correctly. Yes, no, it wasn't. It was Brent Cruz. It was Brent Cruz, not Danny van Routen and Adrian Malheiro. So the guy who was looking over his shoulder that I wasn't overly impressed with was Brent Cruz. I don't feel comfortable when they're constantly looking over their shoulders so early on. I understand late on when track position's important, when you're having to make sure that placement on the track is everything. Anyway, Brent Cruz from Adrian Malheiro pulling away from Danny van Routen and Kino Al-Azari. Ryota Harachi in 5th place. You saw karts numbers 20 and kart number 8 in shot there. Ryota Harachi was 20 in 5th place. 8, Edwin Kneiser of Lebanon. Good to see the Lebanese driver making a good start. Good to see that, simply because, as Henry and I have been saying earlier on, we like to see those nations that don't get a lot of motorsport exposure doing well.
I think actually, Ken, you were right. You were right that Danny van Routen was looking over his shoulder a lot in the first couple of corners, but then he defended into turn number 8 on that opening lap, and that cost him the lead. He was looking over his shoulder defending, and that's when Brent Cruz got first. So, but Cruz and Malheiro are pulling away, and you can see a bit of defending going on into turn number 1 there as we start lap number 3. And of course, that is because the slipstream effect is so great, and of course, these are short races. It's a long circuit for these MicroMax drivers, and Cruz and Malheiro have broken clear. Al-Azari, Keanu Al-Azari, in kart number 35 is now up into 3rd place, battling away with Danny van Routen and Al-Zahi in the black race suit of the UAE. Van Routen in kart number 10 in 4th place. Théophile Nail is 5th. Then Ryota Harachi, Leon Zelenko, the Croatian, and Jonathan Madden in 8th. Jack Jeffers and Alexander Bondarev rounding out the top 10. Then Malaysia's Nazrul Haizal and Ruhan Alva in 12th place for India. A couple of drivers, 35 drivers still running, and I'm not sure if Edwin Kness's transponder is not functioning, because we spotted him earlier on, but he is not coming up on our screens as the 3rd place driver then, Al-Azhari, runs a little bit wide, and that's going to cost him momentum as he come on to the main straight to complete lap number 3 and begin lap 4.
It definitely lost, didn't he, a little bit by just having gone wide there.
But you see the drivers fanning out and defending. That is Ryota Harachi and Leon Zelenko defending into turn number 2. But Brent Cruz and Adrian Malheiro. Well, Brent Cruz, that is a very good start from the American driver from the 5th row of the grid.
Yeah, almost a question of where did he come from, wasn't it? Because right now we've got this pairing at the top of Brent Cruz and Adrian Malheiro, and then about 50 metres before Kino Al-Hazari, who's now pulling away from Danny Van Routen, the pole sitter. And then a little bit of a gap before the Frenchman Théophile Nail in 5th place. But it was a stunning start by Brent Cruz. But I just got the impression, Henry, that Malheiro is getting a little bit closer. He's looking now just where he might make a move. He's not close enough at the moment. And your point earlier on was right. Brent Cruz isn't peering over his shoulder like Danny Van Routen was, but he does incline his head to both sides. Not at the same time, of course, but just one of those little idiosyncrasies of driving, if you like. The greatest Rotax World Champion, or the greatest driver in Rotax World Championships, Chris Magado, used to incline his head very much extremely like that, as Brent Cruz is doing, but not looking behind him doing it. But you tell me, is Adrian Malheiro just waiting for an error? Is he trying to force an error? Or is he at his extreme and in fact Brent Cruz is holding him off?
Well, I have to say that we'll probably look at Malheiro looking over his shoulder shortly. We've got a lap and a half to go. They've got a 2.8 second lead over the 3rd place battle, and the 3rd place battle is now about a dozen cars at the back of your screen. So Malheiro, I believe, is waiting to the final lap because he knows that Brent Cruz will defend, and Malheiro wants to make sure that when Brent Cruz does defend, that Malheiro has enough space between him and the driver behind to go to battle, because Malheiro won't settle for second, that can be certain, but he wants to make sure that if they do start going for it on the last lap, which is beginning now,
and here it is. This is the full width of the circuit, isn't it? Game on, as Henry says. I sometimes respond with that, well, it's never been game off, but I know what you mean.
Cruz,
now it really is for real, isn't it? Malheiro definitely looking for the opening. Can he prize the opening? At the moment, Cruz is positioning himself in a position where, and there's the glance over the shoulder for the first time. You feel that Malheiro isn't going to say, look, a 2nd place finish in my opening heat's going to be fine. You really sense that he's looking for the victory here, don't you?
Yes, into turn number 7 now. Brent Cruz hugging the inside line. Now watch Malheiro. Will he swing out wide? No,
yes, he is. And Malheiro of Portugal taking the lead and losing it. Not able to sustain the turn. So Brent Cruz feeling now a little bit,
now comes
no,
Malheiro
he isn't,
again.
because it may well be going again. And Brent Cruz has still got the advantage.
No, that's Malheiro.
No, now that's Malheiro through.
Malheiro
on the inside line, yeah. No, so Malheiro had really done, if you like, a double prize, hadn't he? Well, he's glancing over. Adrian Malheiro looking where, and actually pulling away a little bit from Brent. So as they come onto the home straight for the 6th and final timer, opening race victory, and it's a narrow one, goes in favour of Adrian Malheiro of Portugal from Brent Cruz in 2nd place.
Who's going to hold on to 3rd position, because while they were battling there was a tremendous dice for 3rd place, and Danny Van Routen managed to prize 3rd away from...
Yeah, he just got past Jonathan Madden, didn't he? Because I glanced out of the corner of my eye and Jonathan Madden was holding 3rd place, so it was a late dive for that 3rd place for Danny Van Routen.
And poor old Keanu Al-Azhari, he finishes 7th, which is a good result, but of course he was 3rd going on to that penultimate lap, onto the final lap. Madden gaining ground eventually overall, but of course losing out on 3rd place to Danny Van Routen. Ryota Harachi from Japan coming home in 5th position, and into 6th position. Now I have to say that though this, I'm wondering if there was a late call there for the checkered flag, because the checkered flag has gone out. They're coming back into the pits, but they were battling away Malheiro and Cruz.
It was almost a race pace running down lap, wasn't it?
But certainly the checkered flag did go out, and there's number 3.
In fact, thinking about it, Adrian did just raise his fist, didn't he? So they had seen that it was the end of the lap. There we are. A good close race between two. We sometimes get finishes in MicroMax with a good close race.
Heizal.
Yes, and pleased to see that Menyard Crozier of Hungary got a decent-ish result. 25th doesn't sound particularly clever, but he was the guy who went out on the opening moments of the... yes, and Antonin Bassani, the lady from Brazil.
Yeah, so the Hungarian driver, Menyard Crozier, 36th to 25th.
Yeah, it's not earth-shattering, but at least he's not going to be nailed to the back, if you will.
Progress.
Antonella Bassani from Brazil, having started a fair way down the field, didn't she? It wasn't an easy drive for her particularly. Trying to see where she did start. It was a long way down the field. It was on row 9, was it?
Well, she